without any further ado, allow me to welcome Mr. Dickson Ssembuya, CFA, who is representing Ms. Josephine Okui Ossiya, the CEO of the Capital Markets Authority, the regulator of this very good sector, the capital markets sector. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Sam. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Dickson Ssembuya. I'm the Director in charge of Research and Market Development at the Capital Markets Authority, and I'll be standing in for my Chief Executive Officer, who unfortunately could not be with us owing to an urgent meeting with the board. So she does send her apologies, and I hope you accept the apologies. Now, I'm delighted to be amongst you. I'm seeing so many familiar faces, colleagues, associates, and it's really a pleasure to stand before all of you. When the previous speaker was talking about kicks, there's something I normally share with people and they don't believe. I was an expert in karate. And I can see you also don't believe. So I actually trained in how to kick people almost 15 years of my life. And I went as far as brown belt. So in terms of categorization, you'd have Bruce Lee at the top with a black belt, then me just below just below Bruce Lee with a brown belt. But nevertheless, so colleagues, just allow me to deliver remarks for and on behalf of my Chief Executive Officer. So distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, good morning once again. It is indeed a pleasure and humbling experience to stand before you this morning to address you. And I would wish to start by thanking the CFA Society of East Africa and other partner organizations for putting together today's event. And I think a round of applause to the CFA Society of East Africa and the partnering organizations. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Capital Markets Authority of CMA has had a long-standing partnership with the CFA Society of East Africa, governed by a memorandum of understanding. So we do have an MOU which provides a framework for engagement with the CFA Society of East Africa. So allow me, on behalf of my CEO, to reiterate the CMA's ironclad commitment to supporting the CFA Society of East Africa. The CFA Society of East Africa remains a critical partner in championing both ethical and professional conduct within the investment industry, as well as the deepening of human resources needed to drive the growth of Uganda's capital market. So the CFA Society is critical in that particular goal of ensuring that we have, the necessary skills, the necessary resources, human resources to drive the growth of Uganda's capital markets, the necessary resources to drive innovation, increased appreciation of ethics. I think, when it comes to the financial world, it's all about trust. It's all about confidence. And I think during those sleepless nights when I was struggling with CFA, I think as I was reading ethics, I think part of the emphasis is on the impact that the actions of one individual can actually have on an entire industry. Okay, so one individual goes ahead and engages in something unethical, and consequently, the whole industry is painted with a single paintbrush. Okay, so it's really important to emphasize the importance of ethics, in as far as driving investor confidence is concerned. Okay, it's really important that that point is hammered home, and the CFA Society has been a reliable partner in as far as driving the agenda of ethics within the investment industry is concerned. So, ladies and gentlemen, today's theme, that is catalyzing private capital for value and social impact, appropriately reflects the crucial role that alternative investments can play in shaping Uganda's economic future. The theme itself underscores the immense potential of alternative investments. This conference aims at shining a spotlight on investable opportunities within the alternative investment space. So this is really timely. I think, again, referring to the curriculum, the CFA Institute curriculum on alternative investments, I think there's that realization that, owing to the fact that alternative investments normally have low correlations with your traditional assets, equity, fixed income, and consequently, in terms of adding or creating value, once you include them in your portfolio, you actually you're able to reduce the risk within your portfolio, and so alternatives are important in terms of risk management, higher risk adjusted returns, you name it. Well, I hope for those who are still doing level 1, I'm actually helping you revise. So ladies and gentlemen, the financial landscape is constantly evolving, and alternative investments have become a significant force driving that particular change. So from private equity to real estate, alternative investments offer investors the potential for diversification, higher returns, and exposure to unique opportunities. So the CMA understands the critical role that alternative investments play in fostering a more robust and diversified portfolio for investors. And consequently, we are actively working to create an environment that encourages the growth of alternative investments. And this should ultimately fuel Uganda's long-term prosperity. So CMA recognizes the importance of alternative investments. So we are alive to that. And we've taken certain steps to facilitate the growth of alternative investments. Key among the steps include the passage of regulations for real estate investment trusts. And I think with those regulations, you can basically structure different types of REITs, the income REITs and development REITs. So those regulations are actually in existence. And I think my only plea would be for, the experts, the financial intermediaries, to actually make use of those regulations, because they are there, and it's really important for us to make use of them to actually test and see whether they would work as envisaged. Okay, so I'd actually urge market intermediaries, the experts in this room, to actually look at those regulations, and I believe those regulations are good in as far as and encouraging exposure to real estate as an alternative investment. In addition to that, we've embarked on the process of reviewing the Capital Markets Authorities Act, and that act has got some few definitions, especially around private capital and private capital vehicles and funds, which we believe are a bit ambiguous and are not really facilitative. So what we're looking at doing is reviewing the existing definitions and provisions to ensure that they are as facilitative as possible for the private capital space. So that remains work in progress. Now, we've also engaged with different other partners from the Uganda Registration Services Bureau, the East African Venture Capital Association, to try and develop regulations for limited partnerships. Now, for those who know, the current Partnership Act has provisions for limited partnerships, but we believe there are gaps within those provisions, and those particular gaps do not facilitate the structuring, efficient structuring, as well as domiciliation of private capital funds domestically. I mean, I'll give an example, issues around winding up. I mean, private capital funds usually have a term, 7 to 10 years, and after that you wind them up. But if you look at the current provisions, they actually tag the winding up process to the Companies Act, making it a bit complex. So that remains unattractive. So with these partners, we're trying to come up with a framework that will allow for efficient structuring and also encourage domiciliation of private capital funds within Uganda. So that remains work in progress. And the beauty is that we've obtained support from different players within the development partnership or development partner community. And they're enthusiastic about seeing a more vibrant private capital space in Uganda. We've also been lobbying for a more favorable taxation regime for private capital funds, and I believe this should bear fruit pretty soon with the passage of more friendly fiscal incentives for private capital funds. I think you should be hearing something around a much more favorable fiscal policy for private capital funds. This has been ongoing for almost 2 or 3 years, but there is a lot of light at the end of the tunnel, so you should be seeing or hearing something in the next few days with respect to those fiscal incentives aimed at encouraging private capital as a source of alternative, non-bank, market-based, patient financing. So, as I come to a conclusion, I think building a strong and sustainable market for alternative investments will require continuous engagements, collaborations between, the regulator, the industry, and the different players. Okay, and we are committed to open communication and fostering dialogue that will prioritize both innovation and investor protection. So we are very much willing to engage. We're very much willing to hear from everyone. And I think what we're looking for is constructive criticism with actionable solutions. Okay, so that's really important. Let's criticize, but let's also provide actionable solutions. Very, very important and very key as we engage in different discussions today. So that will be very important. Let's criticize, but let's also ensure that as we criticize, we also provide actionable and workable solutions. So together, we can ensure that alternative investments continue to be a valuable tool for investors while maintaining a fair and efficient market that benefits everyone. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I would wish to wish you good deliberations, and actually hope that we can keep tab of resolutions, discussions, so that at least next year when we come back, we can have some sort of tracker. We can have a tracker and see what we discussed and what has either been progressed on or what has been implemented. I think that will make this engagement a lot more meaningful. So I think that is a challenge that I'll throw to the CFA Society of East Africa to ensure that we clearly track the deliberations. The conversation is clearly tracked, and actionable proposals that are made are captured, and we create a tracker so that next year, we can be a lot more accountable, and we can make these engagements a lot more meaningful. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I wish to stop. I wish to rest my case for God and for my country. I thank you.